let's talk about storing or refrigerating or freezing your brisket, because there's going to be a lot of times you have a lot of leftovers, cuts of the brisket and everything. You're wondering, what am I going to do with it? So I'm not going to tell you just yet what I'm going to do with my brisket. I'm going to make the videos and then you'll see. So you got to make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and make sure you pay attention to the updates whenever I put out a new video, because I'm going to be doing quite a few videos this week on using leftover brisket, and they're going to be tasty and they're going to be different, and they're going to be something that your friends will love and your family will love and you will love. Okay, so how am I going to store my brisket? How am I going to wrap it and refrigerate it so that way it's good for the next few days? I'm not going to freeze it because I am going to be using it, and I know I'm going to be using it to make some videos and some great recipes. So the way I'm going to do it, I've never done this before. Like I said, never done a brisket. So I'm going to try something different, and then if this works, then we can all start doing it, and maybe it'll improve the moistness, longevity of our brisket. All right, so here we go. All right, so for my brisket, I have my meat hugger butcher paper, this beautiful peach colored, pink colored paper right here, and I have my aluminum foil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the big piece of the brisket and I'm going to wrap it in the foil, and then I'm going to wrap it in the paper. Okay, so that way I can see if I can still retain some of this moisture. Now before I store it, because this is, the fat is on the bottom, the fat side is on the bottom, so it still has all that moisture in there. I'm going to spray it, and then I'm going to wrap it, because even though this brisket has been wrapped up in the butcher paper and in the cooler for about 7 hours, it still has a little bit of warmth to it. Okay, so before it cools completely down, I'm just going to spray it, wrap it in some foil, and then wrap it in some paper. Just going to wrap this up in some string and tie it off. All right, so that's it right there. So it's wrapped in foil, it's wrapped in the butcher paper. This is non-waxed butcher paper. Now remember, when you hear me say butcher paper, non-waxed butcher paper is what you want to use for these meats when you're putting them on a smoker. Okay, all right, so that's it. We're going to store this baby in the refrigerator, and then when it's time for me to warm it up, I'm going to do a video about that so we can all see how this baby warms up after it's been cooked and refrigerated. It's time to reheat this baby. It's been about 3 days since I made this brisket. Now it's time to reheat it because I'm going to make another dish with this leftover brisket. Now, there are a few videos out there that shows you how to reheat or rewarm your leftover brisket after you refrigerated it. There's a few of them, but some of those techniques, you know, require you to have, you know, one of those bags where you seal meats and stuff like that, and it heats it and locks in all of the, you know, the moisture and the flavor and all that stuff. Well, everybody doesn't have one of those, so this is one of the easiest methods that I've come up with, and I'm going to give it a try for the first time. All right, so what I did with this brisket, I wrapped the brisket in aluminum foil, then I wrapped it in some of this meat hugger butcher paper. It is non-waxed, so it's oven safe, because I did in that other video where I made my first brisket, I wrapped it and had it on the smoker. So I used some of this meat hugger wrapping paper. You can also get it on Amazon for a pretty decent price. They have different sizes of them. So I wrapped the brisket in aluminum foil first, then I wrapped it in this paper and I tied it off with some of this rope or string, whatever you want to call it. String, yeah, let's call it string. All right, so what I'm going to do is put it in a pan like this. Now this pan has a lid to it. You can see the linings, the holes in it, or the lines that are holes. Has that with this pan. So what I'm going to do is pour in about a cup of water, put the lid on it, and then put the brisket on top so the moisture can go up into the meat as well. There's already going to be some moisture in the brisket, but I want it to retain its moisture and its tenderness and everything else. So we're going to give that a try. All right, so 1 cup of water into the pan, put the lid on it, and then put the brisket on it. We're gonna put it in the oven for 2 hours at 250 degrees or until the brisket gets to an internal temperature of 165 degrees. All right, let's do it. Cup of water. The oven is already preheated and ready for me. I'm gonna put it in the center rack. There you go. We're gonna wait an hour and a half, and then we're gonna come back and check it out. All right, see you in just a little bit. All right, the brisket should be ready to come out now. And the Alfredo, the brisket Alfredo is done. So now we're gonna see how this rewarming up the brisket came out. That's warm. Ooh, that's nice, tender. Let me switch cutting boards real quick. Ooh, it's warm. Oh yeah. Look at that. Nice and hot. All right, so I know you guys are already gonna say, because remember, this brisket is from the video I made for my first time ever making a brisket. And so I already know you guys are gonna say, hey dude, you cut it the wrong angle. So I already know that. Look at that. Hot. Still nice and moist. Oh yeah. So we're gonna switch this over into the cutting board. And we're going to slice into this. Now I know the last time in the video when I cut into it, I cut it at the wrong angle. As you can see, that juice, yummy. So I'm going to attempt to correct it. Ooh, look at that. Can y'all see that? Nice and juicy. Man, look, it's hot. Look at that. See if I can get the camera to focus real good. Look at that. Nice, juicy. Look at that beautiful smoke ring. Look at that bark. Look how it pulls. Can y'all see that? Smoke still coming off of it. Oh yeah. That warmed up really, really nice. Look at the juices coming out of that. Whew. Look at the juices coming out of that. Beautiful. All right. So we know that wrapping your brisket in aluminum foil and then wrapping it again in meat hugger or butcher paper, non-waxed, tie it up, put it in the fridge this has been in the refrigerator for 3 days. And so rewarming it in the oven at 250 degrees for 2 hours or until the meat gets 165 degrees, we know that that works. So that's what the deal is. I'm happy it came out like that. All right, now let's plate up some of this smoked brisket Alfredo. See how it looks. All right, that's the dish, y'all. Make sure when you have some leftover brisket, you make this dish. All right, you guys be safe and be bold out there. Be bold and be safe, and I will see you on the next video. It's time to eat. Now go make some.